Hi, good morning. It's Nitin from Tavaga. So today we are joined by an industry veteran, Pratekk Agarwaal. Now, Prateek has been in the fintech and financial services industry for more than 2 decades now. He's been running Trutes Advisors, where he's advising multiple fintechs on payments, lending, and some unicorns as well. In addition, Prateek has been a very prolific angel investor. So he's spread, he's really put his money where the his conviction is, and he's worked for marquee institutions like Bajaj Finance, Fullerton, as well as more recently with Bharat Pe. Prateek, thanks a lot for taking time out this morning, sorry, but very happy to have you on board and ready to shoot questions whenever you're ready.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Nitin, for having me here. I think I've been, going by a lot of tips and messaging which Tavaga has been doing, right? I really love your small little bites which you keep sending on WhatsApp, right? So I think, yeah, great stuff by Tavaga, and good to be back with you again, talking about today's PPI and, card kind of ecosystem. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Prateek. So I think both of us have one thing in common is that we both are very passionate fintech enthusiasts, right? And one of the things, we have been associated very closely for past few years, and we've been the cheerleaders of fintech industry overall. We want every player to succeed massively in this ecosystem. But some of the recent news flow has not been very charming, and this is where this whole conversation started. That maybe we need to get our head clear on some of these developments which have happened more recently. And one such area is PPI, so prepaid card instruments. So as we start this call, would love to get your thoughts on what exactly are this. Help me understand. I'm not. I'm totally new to this field. I've never used any PPI, so far. I should have, but what exactly is a PPI? What was the motive behind RBI keeping this as a separate license? Where it should have been used, where it should not have been used, and anything that our average user should know about it.
So I think from the user perspective, it really does not matter, right? What user and consumer understand is, and what RBI also understands is that you have a loan product, which is typically what banks and NBFCs give you, which is known as a term loan product. आप 12 महीने की EMI लेते हो, राइट? आप 2-4 लाख रुपए पर्सनल लोन लेते हो, या you take a home loan or a loan against property, and these are the forms of the loan products, right? The second becomes credit card, where again a bank is authorized to issue a credit card. Right, you have an HDFC, you have an ICICI, or you have any other brand of credit card, which gives you certain limit. You know your limit at the start, and you keep paying whatever you have utilized in certain period of time, which is very clearly defined. If you do not pay that, people come back to you and say that you can pay with additional charges, right? A prepaid instrument on the other side is something like a credit card, but it is not a credit card, right? You do not have a credit on prepaid. It is very clearly said that prepaid card is a prepaid where you already have money, you are loading it, and then you are utilizing it, right? While utilizing it, you can have a merchant discount rate or an MDR, which is charged to a merchant, right? Or you have an option to use that specific token which is loaded by prepaid, which is loaded by money, and you can use it online or offline, right? However, in the fintech ecosystem, right, somewhere people have or brands have come up with certain workarounds, which are absolutely workarounds, and are a form of neither a credit card nor a prepaid card. I would say it is shadow banking, or it is shadow credit card, right? That is where the definition of underwriting or assessment of what is the right credit, right? When are you supposed to repay? Whether it's a credit card where you get a pre-approved credit limit, or it is an it looks like a credit card, but ultimately it's a loan. So these gray areas where RBI has come up with these clarifications and questions, and now come back pretty heavily. Is where there is a gray area in these very core frameworks laid by RBI.
Got it. So, I mean, if I understand correctly, the in terms of licensing requirements, it has to be very separately for any fintech player to either go for a PPI sort of a license or a NBFC sort of a license. And some of these things have been mixed around. Is that a nice way to summarize the whole fiasco that has been happening, or that's not the right understanding?
I would go slightly, from a 10,000, I will go to a 30,000 feet and say that RBI has been very clear in communicating that if you want to be in lending business or financial services, right, you need to be governed, you need to be regulated by RBI in certain ways and forms, right? It may be an NBFC license, it may be a PPI license, it may be an account aggregator, payment aggregator, in whatever forms, right? But you need to be regulated in some or the other fashion, and you are responsible for reporting, right? If you want to be in financial services, and all of these instruments come under financial services. So if and I think on in parallel, fintechs have also grown massively in last 5 years, and awesome funding is also coming, right? So I think both of them have been progressing equally in parallel, right? The only difference is that they haven't really worked together, or there is no place where before something like in insurance, right? If you come up with any new product, you have to take a approval from the regulator, right? Here, what has happened is fintechs, most of the fintechs have tried to, find a workaround for the current product as per the current policy available, right? And that is which is creating a problem again and again, because nobody is thinking holistically that आज मैंने चीज सॉल्व कर दी है, लेकिन ये कल वापस से नई प्रॉब्लम आ जाएगी, right? But if you actually go up 30,000 feet and you say that if I want to be in the regulated business, if I want to acquire a million customer, if I have a say 10,000 crore book, or I want to be something doing meaningful in the credit business or in the cards business, then I need to apply for a license, right?
Mm.
Or I need to understand which out of these 5 licenses I need to apply for. So I think that is something which is both are running in parallel, which I feel it's the time now both have to overlap and work in tandem,
Mm. Got it. Got it.
so that these issues don't crop up in near future again.
True. True. And so, Prateek, help us understand, what does it mean for consumer? So, as a consumer, if I avail any of these, PPIs along with credit, where does it leave me as of today with these regulations? And, what exactly happens, if I default on any of these payments, which I've taken maybe, sort of with my ignorance, by clicking on the wrong clicks, which was available at that point of time without realizing that it was a credit line getting opened up suddenly and everything. So, talk us through, the consumer perspective. What happens? What did the consumer see? What did the consumer experience? What was the problem it solved for the consumer? And why, it might create an additional layer of problem, in future or not,
So
maybe.
sure, Nitin. So I think what is happening is that for a consumer, it is a card, right? If we understand that how many people out of 140 crores have cards, right? Probably maybe 2 crores or something, right? Or 5 crores. I don't know the exact number. Here's the thing, that what about the balance 135 crores, to take for example, just for example, right? They don't have access to the credit card, right? Because credit cards are given to maybe, a certain section, a salaried individual, an entrepreneur with certain turnover, etc., etc. So it's a very niche segment where banks are issuing credit card,
Mhm.
right? So if out of 135 crores, if you even pick up the next 5 crores or 10 crores, right, and you offer them a plastic card which looks like a credit card, and which functions also like a credit card, but at the back you are so excited to get that credit card freebies, 150 rupees, first transaction refund and 20% discount, you tend to ignore as a customer and go into details as to whether this is a loan, it is a credit line, or how is it reported with the bureau,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which normally people ignore when they get excited about such beautiful products, right? And which are awesome looking with a great welcome kit and things, right? So I think there are various means and forms which these cards have been launched in past couple of years. It may be a prepaid card with a bank and a credit limit at the back from an NBFC, right? Where everything, whatever you use, it will booked as a loan. So people don't realize it until unless they either default it or they go and check their bureau scores, and they don't even know that whether they have taken those loans, right? Because most of the times the disconnect is also that you have taken a loan from X fintech, which has X brand name, but
Mm-hmm.
that loan has been booked on Y NBFC, which has again Z name, right?
Sure.
So you don't know that Z name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the reason why customer complaints have been increasing, right? Because you have taken a card from one a fintech, but the loan which is reported is from some other NBFC or a bank. So these are some basic disconnects which I feel should be solved for, right? I think before the products are even launched, maybe you need to have, or regulator needs to have, certain ways and means to at least put either a ring fencing approach or certain guidelines around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this becomes an issue when the product is well accepted in the market due to whatever reasons, right? And then after you have a million customers using it, and the customer complaints increase, and then you come back heavily, then nobody's on the benefit, right? Everybody loses, right? From
Sure.
customers to the complaints, to the fintech, to the VC who's invested money, and to the entire business model.
True. True.
So I
So,
think we need
yeah.
to have a proactive approach around this entire piece.
Mhm. So, do you think these recent notifications by RBI will change business models materially for maybe NBFCs, or maybe wallets, or maybe these PPI players who have been like encroaching the lending space and so on? Will that really shake
Yes,
up the whole industry? In this domain.
it is already shaking up the entire industry, right? You have so much of media coverage since 2 days on it. You have so many people who have come back with various forms. You already we are a country of jugaad, right? So before anything comes up, we have a workaround. But the problem is that that workaround is only temporary and it's transactional, right? And this will again be an issue, not right now, but again in 3 to 6 months, right?
Mhm.
So what I am seeing, so my company and I, we advise NBFCs, fintechs, and multiple use cases on digital lending, right? And this has been
Mhm.
the core ask and recommendation to a lot of fintechs, that if you want to be in the financial services business, right, you should be applying for some or the other license, but they're just not doing it. But
Yeah.
however, now they have started doing this thing right after yesterday's regulation. So
Shake-up of the industry that we are
yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
discussing,
So
right? And maybe it's for good, actually. So probably what I hear from you, is that suddenly this might be a rude awakening for some of the fintechs, who've been just planning to venture out and think more seriously about, what are the directives around, these licenses.
correct. So there is a definite shakeup which is seen, right? And the Jugaad approach is still not gone, right?
Oh.
It is shaking up, but what I'm seeing in the market is that people are still talking transactional, right? Some of the quickest, workarounds which I've come across since yesterday is something where people have started thinking, that I can't give a credit limit to a prepaid card, right? So what next? So what we'll do is we will, we'll use an NBFC, and we will use an NBFC to transfer the loan amount not into a prepaid card as a credit line, but to a savings bank account of a customer, where we'll tie up with some or the other banks, right? And that bank will be used to load the money on the prepaid card. So, again, this is a transactional piece, right? The essence of it is that ultimately, and what if in 2 months RBI comes up and says that the amount which you load on the prepaid card cannot be borrowed?
Hmm.
So
True.
then what will you do, right?
Sure.
So the idea is that RBI is very clear that you want to be a fintech, great. You need to design your policies which are scalable, and something which is very straight is that you underwrite the right person, give him a right limit, ensure that you have a right breakup of what is the exposure you are taking, and you are reporting those numbers to the bureau so that other bankers do not fall for it if the guy is not a great does not have a great payment history, right? And you can define the non-repayment in very clear terms, which is 30, 60, 90. Again,
Mhm.
the NPA terms, right? I think, and if you want to do a KYC, you do a full KYC or a part KYC, depend on how much of exposure as a financial institution you're taking, right? RBI only wants to, uh, you know, allow the policies or probably allow the fintechs or even the BFSI ecosystem to cater to the 140 crores, right? And not just 2 crores or 5 crores Indians, right, who have access to all the premium services and who understands fintech, right?
Mhm.
But what about those 135 crores, right? Can you really come up with something which people cannot con you, right? Can you come up with something which is digital, but at the same time it has decent validation features where a common man with his life savings does not get conned by issues which we have come up with, right? So all that Jamtara kind of things, right?
Got it. So thanks, Prateek. That's really helpful, to understand the whole landscape. But I mean, just a quick question, are there any winners here? Like, let's say, some of these fintechs had great scale in terms of loan sourcing and everything, and with they getting knocked out, I mean, every tug of war has some winners and losers, in the cycle. So in the near term, what do you think is the immediate beneficiary out there?
So the beneficiary are many, right? It's not that not everybody has gone and just build a marketplace or a lead gen or a shadow, some kinds, right? I think there have been players who have applied for licenses, who have got licenses, and who are well equipped not only with the innovation but also with the regulatory license requirements. So I think the people who have already got these regulatory licenses are in a much better situation to tackle the future,
Hmm.
and it also reduces their dependency and increases the credibility of them with the RBI and the regulator, because because now they have direct access, right? Both have access to each other.
Sure. Got it. So, I mean, going ahead, Prateek, how do we look at the fintech landscape? It's clearly some things have shaken very badly, not for good. Some things are for good in the longer run. But how do we look at fintechs and bank partnerships in future? Will there be loss of trust somewhere? Will there be, sort of, more collaboration which will happen? Or, do you think fintechs will compete with banks, or fintechs will replace banks eventually, or do you think it's a collaborative world out there where both will exist in their own avatar currently, at least what we see in India? So what's your take on that front?
So I think everybody is here to do business and everybody is wanting to build a large business, right? and there is no loss of trust, right? Uh, it is about who understands the overall macro ecosystem better, and who understands that the long term vision, right? And it is only going to be collaboration, right? So I think competition is given, right? There is no fun without competition. But if you collaborate, you have a better chance to partner with somebody right? Then the next competition. So I think collaboration is the next new competition which I see, right? And and uh, um, and this is very founder driven, I would say, right? Because all these startups, all the startups, especially whom I work, right? I think one of the core criteria to work with them is the founder thought process, the maturity, and the agility, right? So if you have a founder who's a Ferrari without brakes, I'm sorry, you know, he will crash,
Mhm.
right? So he is the guy who is the face. VCs invest on his knowledge and his confidence, right? And scalability is all about how you adjust to the situation, right? Only then can you be scalable. So I think it is somebody who thinks uh, that I can't do it all, and this is purely my use case and my philosophy, right? That
Mhm.
somebody who comes and says that I want to do it all and I am the best guy in the room, right? He can only go from 0 to 1 and 1 to 5. He will either plateau at 5 or else start going down, right?
Mhm.
His time will be over soon, or else get acquired at that time, right?
Yeah.
Somebody who adjusts the gear at 5 and says that yes, I can only take it to this level, and for next 5 to 50 and 50 to 500, I need to give away certain things. I need to take certain things which I'm good at. I need to get professionals to run these things, and I will guide. I will work with them. I think that kind of collaboration within and outside is something which will build large businesses.
Mhm. Prateek, that's super useful. Thanks a lot for your time, and I'm sure we picked up a lot of messages, especially on the fintech and lending space currently. So thanks again, and you have a great week and a great day ahead.
Thanks, Nitin. Great to chat with you, and thanks for this call this morning. Right. Wish you all the best.